Okay, welcome back, Engineering Level 2 students. Glad you're joining me today. It's week 2. I'm going to begin this lecture once again using a presentation that will have been uploaded to our Google Classroom page. I've restructured a few things, so I apologize for some of the Google posts and announcements you got today, but I'm just doing a little bit of cleanup and organization to make the next few weeks a little bit easier and smoother for both of us. So, without further ado, let me go ahead and begin with today's agenda. We obviously did not meet last week, and hopefully you watched my week 1 lecture that I uploaded to my YouTube channel. We're going to just discuss briefly where Blackboard's going to fit in this quarter. I know we've gotten emails about Blackboard being used, not being used. I just want to clarify a few things. Blackboard Collaborate expectations and office hours. Number 2, we're going to discuss synchronous and asynchronous instruction, so you know what your role is depending on what day of the week it is. And then we're going to get into today's activity. I do want you to have hopefully completed the Blackboard expectations form, but also the Science of Speed web quest, the Formula One car pretest, and hopefully you had an opportunity to look at some F1 cars using the Shop Pits Go F1 Dragster link I set. And also I hope you were able to look at the presentation from last week and look at week 1 of the Formula One car design brief. So, been there, now let's talk about what's next. We're going to start talking today about thumbnail sketches for the Formula One car. You're going to be completing 2 possible designs, and I have also included on Google Classroom a video that I actually had recorded last year with step-by-step instructions on how to create these sketches. You're going to be turning in these sketches, and really it comes down to I want to be able to see your ideas and give you feedback before we start the technical drawing. So please make sure that the assignment is completed, turned in, and provide me the time to then give you some input before we start next week our technical drawings. Looking down the road, I mentioned this in my week 1 lecture, I would like you to be digging around for a metric ruler and possibly some other drawing tools when we get into technical drawing next week. Compasses, French curves, triangles, anything you got that you think will allow you to design a more precise F1 car, that would be great. You don't have those items, it's okay. A ruler, though, is going to be something that you will need, and I will provide once again a link to a paper ruler you can download, print, and use. Once again, a metric ruler, be looking around the house to see if you have that. Blackboard. Okay, here we go. Blackboard is unfortunately a bit of an unstable application. So am I going to use it? Yes. When it's working, I'm going to use it to simply post my agenda for the week to communicate that to your parent or guardian. And that is pretty much it. Now the second piece is Blackboard Collaborate. As you all know, we are using a system which has and has not been working. And within that system called Blackboard, we have created a Blackboard Collaborate Ultra button. That's what takes you to our Collaborate sessions. But if Blackboard's not working, then you can't get to my Collaborate sessions. So things are going to change from when I finish up this video. I'm sure FCPS is going to probably tell us we're going to do things differently. Just be expecting to use Collaborate this quarter, and more than likely we will be emailing you a link to our sessions, and or there will be some other way to get you a link to join Collaborate sessions in the future. More information to come on that. So for now, let me just move on to office hours. I've had students chiming in Tuesdays and Thursdays, every Tuesday and Thursday, 9 to 10 a.m. I'm available. Email works. and I'm still using Blackboard Collaborate as I did today. I'm online, so if you're not familiar with joining a Collaborate session, as of today, that is done through your Blackboard account. I have created a Collaborate Ultra link. I've also included a short video on the announcements page in Blackboard on how to find and join a Collaborate session. I would recommend you watch that. Once again, things are going to change, but for now, that's the way we're getting into a Collaborate session. Number two, I'm sure you're probably very familiar with these two terms. As I say in my slide here, it's been a bumpy road with Blackboard and Collaborate. Hopefully we'll be able to meet this week. If and when we do meet on Wednesdays or Fridays through Blackboard Collaborate, we refer to that as synchronous instruction. So when we are both online, I'm talking, you're listening, and we're interacting, that's synchronous, Wednesdays and Fridays. Asynchronous are going to be Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, and those are the days that you complete activities assigned by your teachers. Keep in mind, on asynchronous days, we teachers also have office hours for you to contact us. And as it says and highlighted, what if Blackboard is down on a synchronous instruction day? Well, we're probably going to be finding a different method to join a Collaborate session, so that may not be an issue. But for now, if Blackboard is not working and or Collaborate is not working, luckily Google Classroom and my YouTube channel are working. So I will continue to record and upload my lectures to my YouTube channel, and I have included, once again, a link at the bottom of the slide for you to access my distance learning YouTube playlist. Just look for the week, listen to the lectures first before you attempt to go through any of my assignments in Google Classroom. So here's the big ticket item for the day, F1 thumbnail sketches. Hopefully you've done your part in preparation for this, but today we're simply going to discuss the design of a Formula One car. You're going to complete 2 thumbnail sketches by next week. All project resources are located in Google Classroom, and we have a week 2 folder, and I would like you to complete things in this order. In that folder, you will find, once again, a link to my lectures, and then I'd like you to look at week 2 of our Formula One car design brief. You'll notice it's going to start on the next slide of this presentation. This presentation, once again, is in Google Classroom. Second thing I want you to do is download and print the F1 thumbnail sketch worksheet. If you don't have a printer, I'll talk about this a little bit later. Yes, you can use notebook paper or printer paper and simply sketch designs directly on that paper. But if you can print this document, that would be great. I would also like you to continue looking at the Shop Pittsco F1 Dragsters link to keep looking at some of these examples of balsa wood F1 cars that have competed in national competitions. I do have a YouTube link where I have actually recorded during one of my classes last year me showing a group of students how to make their Formula One car thumbnail sketches using the worksheet. I once again would recommend, highly recommend, you watch and or follow along with my YouTube video drawing the F1 thumbnail sketches to get an understanding of how you go about designing your front and top view. And I also talk about specifics like the shape and size of airfoils, side pods, rear airfoils, car body. And last but not least, I'm going to have you complete and turn in this activity. Through Google Classroom, you will see that there is an assignment posted. You can simply take a picture with a phone, but I do prefer, if you can, to use some type of scan app that you can download to your phone. They are free. Adobe Scan is a great free scanning app for your phone. You will find the quality is much better when you scan the paper than taking a picture of it with a phone. But you have a choice. As long as the image is of good quality, turn in your sketch. I will then receive it, provide feedback in preparation for our technical drawing. So let's go ahead and start with number 1 right here. Let's take a look at week 2. Once again, just make sure that you're paying close attention to which slideshows you're downloading and watching from home. Just to review real quick, we're designing and constructing a Formula 1 car which can travel a distance of 50 feet in 0.9 seconds or less. The car is going to meet all the specifications given. Those specs we'll really be focusing on next week. Reminder, and I mentioned this in my last video, the incentive is that students that complete the design of their F1 car this quarter, I will be offering after-school opportunities next school year for you to come in, construct, and eventually race a car. Yes, that's what we're doing, Mr. Eggers and I. More information to come on that. Rather than take up your time here, this was all mentioned in the last video, so you can communicate to me if you need more information on that. So from your experience with a CO2 car from level 1, if you look at these 3 items, mass, surface friction, and fluid friction, you know, these were things that were covered in the Science of Speed web quest. These are terms you're very familiar with from making a wedge-style CO2 car. And honestly, this is the order that I focus when I design a car. Mass, lighter, faster. And then you have 2 types of friction, surface and fluid. So if we look at this next slide, mass, simple, less is best. Lighter is faster, but project may be weaker from being too thin. So we have to be careful with thickness when we make things lighter. Surface friction is referring to contact between parts. Something as simple as how you assemble your car. Did you use graphite, straws, washers, steel wool, the axles? Attach wheels properly, meaning you did not tighten them when you were assembling your car. Doing so, you will increase surface friction, which in turn slows down the car. You may have remembered rolling your car down a ramp prior to race day. That was a way to check for surface friction, things you could have fixed before walking down to the track. And last but not least, we have fluid friction. Aerodynamics. Well, we want to avoid flat surfaces because air will push against your car. We want to avoid things like pockets, which can trap air, which we refer to as turbulence. Once again, these terms and these concepts were covered in the Science of Speed web quest that hopefully you completed. And also, you're coming to the table here with some experience from level 1. I think these 3 images are pretty easy to figure out what's faster, what's better in terms of racing. Sports cars typically are lower to the ground, more of a sharp or blunt surface on the front, no flat surfaces here. Sleek, nice contours, nice curves on these sports cars. Obviously heavier here, flat front, not very aerodynamic, and obviously a school bus has a purpose, not on a racetrack, but to transport people from point A to point B. These cars here are designed for speed and for performance. So when we get into this sketching, as you'll also see in my video, I want you to be thinking about 2 terms I know you're familiar with, which is convex and concave. You know, some of you have experienced skiing, snowboarding, riding a skateboard, and if you've ever hit a jump on a snowboard or on a set of skis, sometimes you'll find that they're concave or convex in design. Well, the same thing's happening with air as it's hitting these shapes, like hitting a jump that's concave or convex on skis or snowboard. It's basically shooting you off that jump and you're being redirected either somewhat vertically and or simply kind of in a linear approach off that jump. This is the same concept we use in Formula 1 cars, especially for a front airfoil. The point of making these parts concave or convex is we're redirecting airflow. Which one is better? Well, like I tell my students, either one of these for our purposes is actually going to work just fine. But there's a concept I refer to, and you'll hear about it in my YouTube video when I refer to the height to length ratio, meaning the longer you make this shape and the higher you make this shape, you're going to change how air reacts to this shape. Meaning, sometimes students might make this long, but they'll make this height much taller than it probably should be, and you're really pushing against the part rather than really allowing the air to move over it easily, gradually. So we're going to pay close attention to not only the shape, convex and concave, but especially how this length to height ratio comes into play when you're designing your airfoils. This was also in my previous slide. As you would find on a real Formula One car, this front wing or front airfoil, once again, it's redirecting airflow, but one thing we find on Formula One cars is they also create this downward force. That downward force, in turn, is giving the car better traction. Where does this air go? This image is probably a great example of how air is being redirected up and over the wheels, up and over the car body, and rolling off the back. We're trying to move this air as quickly from front to back with the least amount of resistance. Even the distance the car is from the track is important. The lower the car, the less amount of air is moving under the car as well. Air in contact to the car surface is your enemy. And we're trying to keep this air moving as quickly as possible to get it off the car to help reduce fluid friction. This is a very interesting concept here called turbulent air, which is actually allowed in Formula One racing. Engineers designed these rear wings to create this turbulent air, this monster in the back, which makes it harder for the trailing cars to control their cars. So this is actually something that's allowed and something that engineers incorporate into their Formula One car designs. So something we'll be getting into next week, just to set the stage here, we will be getting into specifications, but I do want you to be taking a look at this when you have a moment and just have an understanding that we're not going to worry too much about size, meaning length, width, and height yet, but we also want to kind of take into consideration when we're drawing these cars, even though they're sketches, we're not making things much larger or much wider or too short. So look at these specs. You will notice that cars are shorter or can be shorter than the wedge cars, CO2 cars you made last year or last semester. Once again, this information will come into play next week. We're not going to worry too much about specs, but they're there for you to take a look at. So here are some cars that have been submitted over the years. If you watched my week 1 video, I showed you even the block of wood compared to a wedge style car and some examples of mine and some of other students, but more examples of cars. Once again, mass, reducing mass is important. As I said in my week 1 lecture, we are not expecting students to extract material like this student did, but it's something I'm seeing more and more. But if you look at the shape and size of the parts, this student definitely found ways to reduce mass but keep the car in specifications. Nice airflow. We're not finding much of any pockets. You can't really see this here, but on this car, this actually does curve downward. So there's not a flat surface here to push or trap any air. Here's another nice looking car. You can see this front airfoil. This is more of a concave design here. Beautiful side pod, convex design on the rear airfoil. And here's another nice looking car. And what really makes these cars unique is not just the design, but also the paint application, which we'll eventually get into for those of you hopefully coming in next year to create one of these cars after school. So I'm obviously going to let my video do the talking for me, but I do want you to be thinking a little bit about things I did discuss. If you don't have a printer, you can complete the F1 thumbnail sketch activity on notebook or printer paper. You're simply going to design what you will see in digital format. You will see that what the actual worksheet looks like. Obviously, you can't print it, but you can set up your paper, in a very similar fashion and still create these sketches. All you need is a pencil and all you need is an eraser. Please no pens when you're going through any type of design activity. When you do complete your Formula One sketches, remember you're going to make 2. You're going to find an assignment that I've posted in Google Classroom under week 2. I would like you to either use a scan app like Adobe Scan or use a phone, take a picture of good quality, and submit your assignment. Once again, you won't need it this week, but starting next week we'll get into technical drawing. I would really like you to either find a ruler or there's a link in this presentation where you can click and download and print a metric ruler. Obviously you would print it, cut it out with a pair of scissors, and now you have a measuring tool. That was also in my week 1 tutorial. So I'm going to go ahead and jump out of my presentation here. Let me go ahead and show you what this is going to look like in Google Classroom. You'll notice I'm going to use my engineering level 2 first period class as my example here. Let me go to Classwork. And this is the content from the week before. Once again, I did some restructuring here. I think it's just easier for you to find the material you need. I apologize for all those emails that you may have received from me today, but keep in mind I always have a document that says read this first, which you'll find right here for week 2. And if I open up this document, you're going to find that I have a set of instructions. Step by step, what I want you to do first, second, third, fourth. This is a link to my distance learning YouTube page. Currently is week 1, but I will be posting this week 2 lecture here after I finish this video. And then here's the same presentation I was talking about earlier, and it's in a PDF format. So you can also view this through Google Classroom. What you're also going to find is I've included some other information. Here's the PDF of the thumbnail sketch worksheet. This is if you can print. I would really like you to print this out, and then you can use this to make your designs. If you do not have a printer, just simply open this document on your computer, and we're trying to replicate what you see here on paper. Do your best. If you cannot accurately draw these shapes and these shaded in hatched areas, it's okay, but you will still watch my YouTube video on how to sketch 2 cars. So even though you don't have the PDF, you will still watch the video and complete this assignment on paper, printer paper, or notebook paper. I want you to continue looking at these cars. I mentioned these in my week 1 video. There are some great examples of what a balsa wood Formula One car looks like, from front airfoils, rear airfoils, side pods. We did mention that the spoiler is optional, and it all gets attached to a car body. If you have yet to watch my week 1 lecture video, I need you to do that to better understand how we're going to be eventually assembling a car like this, and or just to have that understanding. Remember, D cars are high school, E is middle school, and these cars are all ranked from fastest to slowest. So these are the 2 fastest cars. This was a high school car from Florida. This was a middle school car from Pennsylvania. So once again, continue to use that link. And last but not least, this is the YouTube video every student will watch with or without the worksheet. If you're still doing this on paper or printer paper, notebook paper, the first video is going to show you how to make a sketch. The second video will show you how to make the second sketch. And yes, there is some length to these videos. I understand that. I would recommend that you watch and follow along. You probably won't have to do much pausing and playing because this is a live recording I did with my students. And as I'm designing it, they're designing it as well. So you can simply just watch the videos straight through and follow along with me. Keep in mind, when you complete this activity, here is the assignment I'll make available for you. As it mentions, after you complete the Formula One sketch thumbnail sketch assignment, use a scan app or take a picture. Check the image quality, please, before you upload it, and add that image to this assignment and turn it in. The sooner I get this assignment from you, the sooner I can provide feedback and preparation for our technical drawing. Okay, folks, I'm going to stop here. As I mentioned, this whole distance learning piece has been a bit of a bumpy road, but the good news is Google Classroom and YouTube are reliable. So I'm going to continue using these two platforms to deliver instruction to you. I will also continue to communicate to your parent or guardian what we're doing. And I'm an email away, and you can always come join us during my office hours. So, hope to see you all soon. Hope you all are doing well, and good luck with this activity. And next week, we will start our technical drawing.